Welcome to Higher Ground. Thanks for joining me here again today. This morning I was reading in Ephesians chapter 2, and verse 13 says, "But now in Christ, you who are once afar off have been brought near by the blood of Christ." The preceding verses in that section and the following verses in that section talk about those who were far away from God because of the separation between Jew and Gentile. In the Old Testament, God had drawn the line between who was a Jew and who was a Gentile, and therefore he had drawn the line between who was accepted as his people and who was not. And so when it came to the New Testament, there was a huge divide between who was accepted and who wasn't from the Old Testament, and yet Jesus is breaking down all of those barriers and saying, I have come for everyone. I didn't come specifically for the Jews, and I didn't come specifically for the Gentiles. I came for all mankind. So the Jews had a big issue with this. They didn't know how to wrestle with the fact that for so many years, centuries, they had been the chosen people of God. That all other nations had been wiped out of the face of the earth. They had been taken away into captivity, and yet God had delivered them from those other enemies because he protected them as his people. And yet we see in this New Testament that things change. God is the same, and yet he chooses to open up his scope of chosen people to include all man. And so we see in Ephesians chapter 2 that those who were once afar off, those who were separated and outside of the original chosen people, have been brought near by the blood of Christ. And then I was reading in Matthew chapter 8. Matthew chapter 8, verse 1 to 4 talks about a leper who came to Jesus and said, if you're willing, basically if you want to, or if you are willing to heal me, you can, but you don't have to. He's saying to the God of the universe in human form, he's saying, you don't really have to heal me, but if you choose to let your powers heal me, I would appreciate it. And he humbles himself before God, and he kneels there, and he just waits, hoping that Jesus will actually heal him. I don't know what the leper would have done if Jesus would have done what every other human had done in the past, and just said, you need to call out unclean. I cannot come near you, and walked away. What would the leper have done? No doubt that's what the leper expected. But we see a change of scenery and a change of situation in verse 3, and it says, Jesus reached out his hand and touched him. And he said in the following verse, I want to heal you. Be clean. That's incredible. That would have blown that leper away. To realize that the God of the universe in human form stood right in front of him, and instead of walking away and leaving him in the dust, Jesus reached out and touched the most unclean person in the Jewish camp. And then we see in Mark chapter 10 a similar situation, different style of story, but Jesus drawing near. And it talks about children, and parents were bringing children to Jesus that he might touch them, and just the incredible grace and comfort of Jesus. And it says in Mark chapter 10 verse 16 is talking about the children, and he took them in his arms and blessed them, laying his hands on them. And just this beautiful picture of comparing these three situations. Ephesians chapter 2 being far off from God, those who were not Jews, separated from the chosen people. And then like the leper, those who were disgusting in God's sight because of our sin. Jesus reached down and touched earth. He touched us. And then he has wrapped us up in his arms like the children in Mark 10. I pray that today you'll realize that there is a God out there who is not just looking to judge you, looking to condemn you, and looking down from heaven saying, oh, there's another opportunity to send somebody to hell. We have a God who is up in heaven looking out to draw us near, looking forward to bringing us onto his knee and wrapping us in his arms and reaching out and touching the despised and the unclean. I pray that you'll be touched by Jesus today, wrapped in his arms, and feel his love. God bless, and have a great day.